Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ring Ramble podcast. My name is V,
My name's Brad.
and today we're going to be talking about our favorite tag teams. Let's just get right into it. Yeah, honestly, no need for any extra introduction. You go first.
Well, for the first team I chose was the Legion of Doom, also known as the Road Warriors. They were composed of Road Warrior Hawk, who was Michael Hegstrand, and Road Warrior Animal, who was Joseph Laurinaitis. They worked in the American Wrestling Association, AWA, National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, and the World Championship Wrestling. And they were named Legion of Doom in World Wrestling Federation. Under either name, their gimmick was the same. They were two imposing wrestlers in face paint. What a Rush was a trademark motto from Hawk. They had spiked shoulder pads, which was inspired by the Mad Max film, The Road Warrior, and rode motorcycles towards the ring. They had one of the most deadliest tag team moves in wrestling history, known as the Doomsday Device. There's a lot of things about them that, out of the ring was the drug abuse problems of Hawk. And, don't really want to focus on that, but they were the two-time champions, multiple champions in various organizations. They were the PWI Tag Team of the Year from 1983 to 1985 and in 1988. Had one of the best feuds of the year in 1987, which was against Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff versus the Four Horsemen. And PWI ranked them as the number one of the best 100 tag teams in 2003.
I did see that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they were an incredible team. And then they also had one other member that did come in down the road, and that was Draws. I don't know if many people remember Draws, but Draws
he didn't have a very
not a very long career, but he recently just passed away not that long ago.
Yeah.
He was paralyzed from the waist down, actually from the neck down, actually.
Yeah. By D-Lo.
But yeah, Road Warriors definitely was one of my favorite teams growing up. Everything about them was good. They were an imposing force in wrestling back in those days. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I didn't grow up watching these guys technically, but my favorite are the Steiner brothers. To put it simply, I love the Olympic style of wrestling. That much is obvious with Kurt Angle being my favorite all-time wrestler. The Steiners were incredible performers of their time, honestly. But honestly, they were great athletes of their time as well. I'm not going to say that they were, above everybody else. But just the moves in specific to Scott Steiner that he did, the Frankensteiner, the Steiner Screwdriver, those were incredibly powerful and scary, dangerous moves. I just felt like that definitely heightened their I guess their star power, because they had such dangerous moves like that. Kind of like what you said about the Legion of Doom. They had great matches of their time in the WWF, and I would even say in WCW collectively. They were both talented in their own right and both served their own individualities, which is something I often find is kind of hard to do, at least for a majority of tag teams. I feel like a lot of them kind of just blend in with the other, and I felt like that the Steiners definitely had, they looked physically different, and they had their own iconic moves, which like Rick was the Bulldog, and Scott was, like I said, Steiner Screwdriver and the Frankensteiner. Oh yeah, okay, sorry. I was losing my place. Okay, Rick Steiner was the bigger of the two, facilitating the matches with more heavy lifting and hard-hitting power, while Scott Steiner had the agility to perform moves such as the Frankensteiner. Both of them went on to be 11-time tag team title winners throughout the 90s. Unfortunately, when they broke up, I'm gonna be honest, Rick fell into obscurity, and Scott rebranded into literally my favorite gimmick or character of all time. God, he's the best. But they didn't remain the best wrestlers when they broke up, nor were they as agile. I mean, Scott Steiner, even though he's one of my favorites ever, he returning to the WWE was not good at all. His rivalry with Triple H definitely did not make him look good whatsoever. Just match wise, he wasn't as great as he used to be. Yeah, it wasn't the same. But there's a lot of great memories with them just as a team and separately. I would say Scott Steiner Math. I mean, that was inevitable to mention the Steiner Math. That was the best. And his time in like TNA was amazing. Stuff that he had against Samoa Joe, for example, was just really great. Even though, like I said, not the greatest wrestler, but he definitely did do well for the not so agile, I guess, kind of wrestling style that he ended up kind of adopting. But yeah, in general, they were just really great. I know we're not doing specifically like favorite matches for this, but I would say that if I had a favorite match, it would definitely be the Steiners versus Sting and Lex Luger in WCW. So even though it ended kind of like poorly with like an interference, it was such a good match nonetheless. So yeah, Steiner Brothers.
For my second team, I picked Demolition. They were one of the most prominent during the late 1980s and the early 1990s. It was made up of Axe, which was Bill Eddy, Smash, which was Barry Darsow, and later on Crush. Brian Adams was there, but we don't really talk about that much. And Demolition were a 3-time WWE World Tag Team Championship, and they hold the record for the most combined days as a reigning champion with that championship. They were one of the most intense-looking teams with the spikes, leather gear, along with the black masks. They had the whole sadomasochism BDSM thing,
they did.
attire on the main stage, while others were behind closed doors. They also dressed up in the face paint. They were their first reign is with the WWE Tag Team Championship is the 4th largest reign with any tag team championship in WWE history. That is behind Mark Coffey and Wolfgang's reign in the NXT UK Tag Team Championship, New Day's reign in the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship, and of course the Usos, which is the reign with the WWE SmackDown. They had the longest reign record. They were the 4th, which is another great team. Also a team that just after a while they split them up. Axe really didn't do anything. But
tried.
But Smash was like kind of did a couple of other gimmicks. He did he was a garbage man once, and didn't really go anywhere. But they were very intense. A very cool finisher of theirs was the Axe would rest them on the knee, and Smash would come off the top rope and do an elbow drop. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, they were a great team. They were also managed by Mr. Fuji for a period of time. Great music. And, yeah, overall, great theme. Great theme.
All right. My second. Debuting in ECW 1995, composed of the two, Devon and Bubba Ray, the Dudley Boys, are my second favorite. It was pretty difficult narrowing down these guys on my top 3. Like, I knew they were going to be up there. But, my favorite match of theirs, I will just, go ahead and say it, was against the Hardys and Edge and Christian. Was it WrestleMania 17, the TLC match? So, considering those other two teams, it was kind of, they were all tag team powerhouses of the same time frame. So they kind of get categorized together often, but I felt like the Dudleys stood out more to me because they would get the crazy matches, and if you want to see a good bump, you could go to them for especially crazy bumps, especially for a Spike Dudley in particular. He took some nasty bumps, and he's pretty small. Very small. He took them. But in all the brands that they've contributed in, including the WWE, TNA, ECW, and WCW, and so on, they captured 21 tag team titles, notably winning the WWF/WWE World Tag Team titles 8 times. I know we said we will. Yeah, like I said, I know we said that we weren't going to do notable matches, but the WrestleMania 17 Dudley Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys TLC match.
For sure.
They also had one at SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken. That was also pretty good as well. But yeah, honestly, that match, I know we've all seen it. I mean, if you're here listening to wrestling podcasts, you've likely seen it. If you haven't, witness the magic for yourself. Go and search up that match. That's considered to many people be their favorite match of all time. Yeah, and to non-wrestling fans, people that want to get into it, yeah, definitely that's something worth watching. So, yeah, Dudley Boys.
My third tag team were the one and only Bushwhackers.
Mm.
Although in their 36-year career as a tag team, they wrestled in WWE and Jim Crockett Productions. This team consists of Butch Miller and Luke Williams. They were inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2015 and the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum in 2020. They had a very unorthodox look for an era where tag teams consisted of good-looking guys and big size. They had one of the best musical entrances of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
The arm movements, the occasional licking of an audience member were hilarious, which I have to note. My father was licked by Butch when he took us to a house show in Portland, Oregon when we were about 9 years old. It was hilarious because my father was like, "No," started yelling at him, but it was like my brother and I were like, "Yeah," we were all super excited about it. That one of the their signature move was a freaking battering ram type move where Butch would take Luke in a headlock and they would charge forward. It was so horrible. But this is the thing that made me kind of sad. So they never had a WWE Tag Team Championship, but they had awards as the following: the Hall of Fame Class of 2015. The Wrestling Observer Newsletter awarded them the worst tag team in 1992 and 1994.
Oh, wow. Oh.
The worst worked match of the year in 1993 with Men on a Mission, which I guess makes sense, versus the Head Shrinkers, which I'm kind of like, that's not cool.
That's crazy.
Bastion Booger, I remember that guy, and this kind of makes sense. And Bam Bam Bigelow, which doesn't also make sense, but this was in Survivor Series. Considered the worst worked match of the year.
That's hilarious.
Luke actually holds the record. Well, he held the record for the shortest entrance in the Royal Rumble.
Oh, and then he was beat by Santino, right?
I think it was Santino that beat him, and then I think Michael Cole beat it as well. But he literally came in and was thrown out, and he walked out when he still did the hand
with his
gesture.
arms.
Yeah, the Bushwhackers are great, and yeah, it made me sad to see that they never won a championship ever.
Well, I mean, that was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they were just a great part of a childhood, dude. They were just a fun team.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
all it was.
A lot of these honorable mentions for me are more nostalgic than anything. But that makes me feel better about my third pick because I felt like I was going to get heat for picking these guys at 3 because they also weren't really like that great as a tag team, but I felt like they definitely evolved past it. And because of their tag team, they definitely had like the best rivalry and work together. DIY. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. How many times do I have to talk about these guys? This team was an important part of NXT history. Like I was saying, this led on to like the most incredible rivalry and series of matches to ever really grace the stage of wrestling and specifically NXT. I'm not kidding. Like even the Tuna Melts himself, Dave Meltzer, gave what I believe is like 2 matches both men have had rivaling against each other as 5-star plus matches. Just looking into them like head to head, they really made for a good tag team. They had a great dynamic and a great variation of moves, combos. They may not have won a lot, which they've only been one-time NXT tag team champions, and then one-time WWE tag team champions, but I lost that to the Bloodline. They are my favorite in my heart. So if people don't agree, they're a favorite in my heart. You may understand it or not, but I just have so much respect for them as just individual wrestlers. They're impressive whether they're with or against each other, and I hope they can get those tag team titles back. However, since it's the Bloodline, I don't see that changing anytime soon. Unfortunately, but DIY for sure is they're a great team. So yeah. Honorable mentions? Go right ahead.
It's not in particular order. I chose the Killer Bees just because of the fact they were called the Killer Bees.
Check out that photo, by the way.
Yeah, check out the photo of them and just see the humor that comes across that. It took a lot of bravery to dress that way.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I have to give them props where it is. I also picked Power and Glory. It was another great team. That was Hercules and Rick Martel. That was a good team as well. Orient Express, that was incredible. The Rockers, I mean, you can't deny that. The Mega Powers was
of
freaking
course.
amazing as well. Natural disasters, tugboat,
Oh.
and freaking.
I'm surprised you didn't put that on top 3.
Nah, they weren't a very good tag team, but
Okay.
they were definitely.
I
for,
thought
at
your
its
love
time.
for Earthquake
Well,
would
yeah,
proceed.
but I mean at the time, it wasn't the same. The Steiner brothers, of course, the Dudley boys, and I picked also the Hart Foundation just because I thought it was a better team. I thought they were better as a tag team.
Oh, then as individuals?
Yeah,
or what?
I didn't really. I'm not the. I have to respect Bret Hart as his single run and everything,
Yeah.
but I thought the Hart Foundation was a really good team, and the Heart Attack was a great move. That was a great signature move. And that was mine.
Oh, okay. Okay, so my honorable mentions are obviously the Hardy Boys. I was talking about them earlier. They were a really great team. I'll just throw Edge and Christian in there as well. They're also an honorable mention. Like I said, with the Dudleys and stuff, they kind of all came around the same time, or at least worked around the same time. Their best work was together, so I definitely give them all their props. The Mega Powers, I also put that too, because, I mean, you're taking two greats in Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan and putting them together.
That was a great
like,
team.
dude, that's like monumental.
Right.
Money Incorporated. Dude, I love me some $1 Million Man. I'm literally wearing a $1 Million Man shirt as we speak.
Right.
And you know, IRS was great. The promos were great. I mean, dude, coming like this rich ass guy. This guy's taking your money for like taxes and shit. Like, that's just so perfect to put them together. Team Angle, which was Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin with Kurt Angle. They were awesome. They also were if I'm not mistaken, they were also called the greatest tag team in the world. These ones are just purely out of nostalgia, but the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, they were pretty active when I was little, and they were actually winning a lot of matches at that time, and I really liked them a lot. American Alpha. We're not talking about Alpha Academy. We're talking about American Alpha. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, they were at their peak in NXT. They did pretty well on the main roster as well. But you know, unfortunately, there was Jason Jordan, they split, and then Jason Jordan also had a terrible injury, so they didn't last very long. Breezango. Breezango, man. I always talk about them all the time. I love them. I wish they would come back. I mean, I see a lot of elements in Pretty Deadly that are pretty similar to Breezango and how they used to be. The very cheesy promos and kind of like flamboyant nature. I love that, and I wish they give more of Pretty Deadly a push. And I'm also looking forward to, hopefully, since there's that TNA connection with NXT, Fandango is in TNA, so I would like to see him come over. And Tyler still is under the WWE, so it'd be very nice to see maybe they cross over again. Someone around this time, too, was the Vaudevillains. I feel like people forget about them a lot. They were amazing.
Yeah, they were.
The music was incredible. The style was so unique. I wish they had more opportunity. That's a tag team I'm never gonna forget. I feel like a lot of people forget, but I'm never gonna forget them. They were amazing. But speaking of, this is a match that the Vaudevillains had that didn't end so well with this other group. But Enzo Amore and Big Cass. I don't know if you remember, but I believe if it was Payback 20-something. 2016 or so, 2017, Enzo got whiplash at the bottom rope and got a concussion against the Vaudevillains. That was a completely freak accident, I'm gonna be honest. But dude, Enzo Amore, Big Cass, memorable promo lines,
promo work
signature lines that was as wrestlers, not so good, but it was the crowd work that was incredible. Now this is an example of good wrestlers, the Undisputed Era, in any formation, but particularly Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. They were two-time tag team champions together in NXT. I felt like they were a really great example of tag teams. And lastly, I'm gonna throw in Nathan Frazier and Axiom. I mean, this is I would say the best tag team currently besides DIY, in my opinion. They are amazing. I'm so glad they got their titles back, and they're definitely saving NXT, or just the tag team division as a whole, just themselves. And I hope they don't split up, because they try to hint at that a couple times. But yeah, those are all my honorable mentions.
I actually just kind of wanted to throw one other one in for
Go ahead.
mine because if without this tag team, you wouldn't have had like one of the best tag teams that held the title for a long time, the Usos, and I had to put the Head Shrinkers for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember being scared to death of them when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
And I thought they were like such weird dudes and like
They
they,
would have
couldn't
to-
be
they
hurt.
would
Like
hit
they
e-
were invincible and
Yeah.
everything.
they would like
And
knock
their
each
hair was
other's
wild
heads
and
into
everything.
each other.
I mean, yeah, they were very intimidating
Very,
when I was younger.
Mhm.
So yeah, I got to give props to the Head Shrinkers.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great tag teams that we didn't even mention.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, you could even say like the British Bulldogs, like when they were like the tag team that they had there. There was
The Brothers of Destruction.
Brothers of Destruction.
There was
There was Powers of Pain, which was the Warlord and Barbarian that were managed by Bobby Brain Heenan. They were a good one. Even Haku and Andre the Giant were a tag team for a brief period of time. I don't remember if they even had a name for them. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. So I mean, if you guys have any tag
Any
teams you want to
favorites?
throw out there,
Yeah,
put them in the
comment
comment
them.
section.
for sure.
But
Yeah, that's basically our tag teams. Yep.
yeah, that's it.
I don't think they'll change anytime soon. So that would be just set in stone for now. But yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye bye.